And reaching back further into February, I think I want to thank you for your attendance at the meeting we had with regard to the PennDOT and the Turnpike response to the snowstorms back in late January. And I've seen some incremental changes in terms of the policies. It seems to me that the bans where, it seemed like we were banning all commercial traffic. We were, much heavier handed back then. It seems now, even though the initial ban seems to be for all commercial traffic, we're peeling off those restrictions faster during the course of the event and making distinctions between loaded tractor trailers and empty tractor trailers, the large-scale vehicles that can be blown around in heavy winds and things like that. So I appreciate that. The one thing that I think is missing is that the police at the time were talking about how they were going to use discretion with regard to the citing of people who felt that they had to travel on a particular road for whatever reason, maybe the nature of the product they were carrying or whatever it might be. They were talking about using discretion and trying to emphasize that. The statistics that I've seen from the last event last week were that like 835 citations were issued and perhaps fewer than 20 warnings. To me, that seems to be, out of balance, out of kilter. It ought to be, I'm not going to say it should be exactly opposite of that, but it seems to me there's really not as many warnings as we would have liked, and certainly a heavier hand in terms of issuing citations. All I'm going to ask you to do is carry that back to the next meeting. I know you meet frequently with PEMA and the state police and the whole group of people that are having these discussions, but it seems to me that discretion has to be much more liberally applied in those kind of situations. We are talking about emergency situations, but there are people that have product that has to get from point A to point B, and I think a warning may be the better use of police power in that situation.
Yeah, because of that meeting that we had a follow-up meeting with the Turnpike, the PMTA, the Pennsylvania Motor Trucking Association, and PennDOT on how we can better look at those truck restrictions. We are going to continue those meetings. We have follow-up meetings with PMTA. We also, as I mentioned before, are going to meet with the dairy dairy-related stakeholders as well, and we'll continue those conversations. So I'll definitely bring that back, and that'll be part of those discussions.
Okay, thank you. I just think the emphasis has to be worked, filter its way down to where the rubber meets the road, and the police have to decide on whether it's a warning or a citation, because the citations are pretty expensive and they cost the truckers a lot of money.
I'll definitely bring that back, as well as all of the conversations surrounding the truck restrictions. We heard several points tonight.
Okay, I'm new to the Transportation Committee chairmanship, but I am looking forward to the next 2 months of pothole season with a little bit of trepidation. Let me say that District 6 down in the southeast does an exceptionally good job, I think. However, and that's probably true of all the districts across the state, everybody tries to do the best job they can. I think, though, that the department might be missing an opportunity to partner with local municipalities on state highways that cross through their municipal borders. The local township is probably the first people to hear about major potholes on major state routes, and a large pothole, on a state route where people are traveling at speed or sometimes a little bit beyond speed, can be pretty dangerous. You can blow tires, you can break wheels, but you can also have major accidents. It would seem to me that if a township learns of that, it can easily go out in today's world, take a picture of the pothole, on their cell phones, fix the pothole, and then report back to PennDOT that they did. And we ought to be working out some sort of arrangement where either we trade services like under the agility program that PennDOT has in place. Can you just tell me what your reaction would be to that kind of a a work-sharing
Yeah,
type of
we're
program.
open to anything that helps us get potholes filled quicker and better with longer lasting results. We do have agility programs with many of our municipalities, and that would definitely fall under a agility program if we already had one in place. That's where it's almost like a bartering, where the municipalities help us with some of our work, we help them with some of their work. So under an agility agreement, we could go ahead and do that type of work together. So happy to take a look at that further if there's any particular municipalities, but also on a broader level, we'll take a look at that and see where those agreements are in place and where maybe new agreements could be in place to get that pothole scenario working. But it's a very good suggestion.
But thank you. I appreciate your openness to the idea, and maybe we can work together to move that along.